This week we look at horizontal atonement. Number 5 in our series on Ephesians, horizontal atonement, the cross and the church. And first of all, we need to talk about atonement. And I put in the notes for this time quite a bit of the etymology of the word atonement, beginning back there in 1536 with Tyndale and his translation. And he says this in his works: one mediator, Christ, and by that word understand an at one maker, a peacemaker. Why am I saying at one when we tend to say atone? Well, because the word atone has gained some other meanings. Paying penalties, making amends. You have to do something to pay off some kind of indebtedness. That's what we've put into the word, really, in our modern thinking. But in the beginning, it was at one. Now, the only reason we say atone is because back there in the 16th century, we counted own, 2, 3. We didn't say 1, 2, 3. And you can see that own word, the one word, in some of the compounds where we still use it. Only means onely, because there is only one of that. And so we say only instead of onely. And then when we are all one, we are alone. Do you see what I'm saying? That is why we really should be updating our pronunciation and talking about at-one-ment, especially if we invest atone with this mistaken ideas of paying something off. Because if we read horizontal atonement and that we are doing this for one another, it would mean that we were kind of paying off some kind of debts or trying to make amends to each other or something like that. It doesn't make much sense, does it? And that's why I'm glad we have that there. Because when you say at-one-ment, then you say, oh, well, we're talking about being together, being in harmony, being at one with each other. And that's why, as we look at Ephesians chapter 2, we see the way in which God is doing just that. In Ephesians there, Christ is our peace. That is how he makes us one. One with him, one with each other. Not that there's anything on God's side preventing at-one-ment. We are the ones who are hostile. We are the ones who are separated from God by our sins, by our choices. And so that's why in this context, the at-one-ment, yes, one to another, but also involving God, is so significant because it's Christ that does this. It is the one way in which God can bring us back into harmony with him, recognizing and agreeing with him that right is right and wrong is wrong, and we wouldn't want to have it any other way. Indeed, as we think about this, this is really what the gospel is all about, bringing us back, wanting us to be in harmony with him, because he gives us the freedom. We can choose to go our own way if we so desire. God is not going to force us. He believes in freedom, as we've seen so often, but he does want us to be saved into his kingdom. He wants us to be healed from the damage of all the sin that has caused that in our lives. Now, the Day of Atonement, at-one-ment, was a special day there in the Old Testament. You can read about that in the studies, in the law, in the various books of Moses and so on. But this Day of Atonement was a way in which you brought things back to some kind of resolution. Laura Schlesinger, in the quotes for this time, says this: on the Day of Atonement, Jews are commanded to seek forgiveness from the people we have hurt. What a great day that is. And we don't have to wait for any specific day in the calendar. We can choose to do that whenever we want, to extend forgiveness, to try and embrace one another, to achieve this at-one-ment, the horizontal atonement that Jesus brings, providing the at-one-ment between us and God and the at-one-ment with each other. Let's think about these things.